Hello everybody, it's Chris. We're going to rebuild a Detent style remote. This is off the 1855. I guess reseal would probably be the right term. That's usually all that goes wrong with them is the start leaking. Okay, I may have to put that in a vise. A chunk of old round baler belt really makes for a great thing to have near the vise, so you can really, it's durable, but helps protect whatever you got in the vise from getting marred up. There we go. This one can be done on the tractor. I've done that before. This one you can reseal on the tractor. Even the front one, I've done that. That one's kind of tough because, boy, you gotta let's just come around here. This front one, you kind of gotta get to be a contortionist to get this plug out while it's still in the tractor, just where everything's at. But I have done it, and he's kind of working blind. If the spool comes out with it, that's fine. As I mentioned in another video, these spools and bodies are machined to match. So, you know, if you're really desperate, you can get a spool from another one and swap in, but it's better to just get a whole complete valve because just everything works right or may not even fit. All right. I almost need a glove because that is sharp. Those different lands. But there will be, under here are going to be some balls that want to shoot out. So you want to be careful to try to not let them fly away. Maybe we'll pop the cap off. Maybe. Maybe. Maybe not. There, it's coming. I have a video on how to adjust the detent pressure on these, and it involves sticking a small Allen screw in there and adjusting it, or Allen wrench. Let's do all sorts of things. Let's wrap it with a paper towel so that if the balls go flying, I know they're just catching in one of the ball lands. There's a couple of them in there. That's what holds the lever in and out, is the balls in here catching inside the grooves inside this cover. And so, like I say, when it decides to come out, they can go shooting. Well, there's a snap ring that holds this cap on. I don't think this is the normal way to do it, but I'm gonna try it. If that'll release the pressure off the... Yeah, it did. Okay. There's one ball. Yeah, she's rusty. Crusty a little bit. 3 balls and 3 holes. So that did make that a little easier. Here's the snap ring that held it all together. So we want to keep this stuff in order. And you always have the parts books are great. They have breakdowns of all this, and they show the order, you know, that it all goes together. So 3 balls there, and here's the spring. And like I say, boy, you can see it's a little bit of rusty crusty in there. Now I got to remember how that comes apart. There's another, the part you hit with the Allen wrench is down in there yet. Okay, apparently I did not have it in the right mode, but anyways, this threads into here, and then this is in there too, and there's an O-ring that seals it. I finally had to clamp this in the vise, put an Allen wrench in that hole so when it turned in the vise, it would stop, and then put a crescent wrench on the other end. Broke it free, then it turned all right. So now I got to get a screwdriver that can turn that inner part out. That's all that. But essentially, where to go? This plunger in here that I'm probably not going to be able to push out. There it is. Come on. Now this has an O-ring on it. And your Allen wrench goes and engages this, which engages this screw and puts more pressure on this spring and plunger. There are holes in the body of the spool that let pressure in. That adjusts how much pressure it takes that to kick back, which then, it does something or another. Pushes back, lets the balls drop out, and the lever drops back into neutral. Oh, come on. Not the right tool for the job, but maybe I can make them. Yeah. There it is. O-rings, O-rings, O-rings. We've got a doohickey here. A cap. Like I say, I mentioned earlier, you can. This front one, I've done it before, but man, it's tight. Maybe someone with smaller hands will have more luck than me. It's just an O-ring and a backup washer. And there's spring pressure against it. I don't know how that did that. This O-ring walked all the way past the threads. That kind of explains why it wanted to come out funky. There's that. Spring. If you get a seal kit, it'll come with one of these, well, a pair of these poppets. There's a couple different sizes depending on the valve. They just put all 4 in there. You need 2 per valve, but and you know, might as well put them in. Sometimes they get bad, sometimes they don't. I think I've got some new ones over in my toolbox left over from another kit. Let's get the other side out. Whoa, this one wasn't even tight. Just waiting to leak. Is it going to do the same thing with the O-ring? No. Now this back one has a screw with a jam nut, and there's parts inside of here. There's another seal in there we'll have to get. But that's for adjusting your flow rate, and generally you want this to be your down circuit or your lift circuit, so that when you're lowering, there will be another poppet on this side. Come on. There it is. But you can screw that in to adjust how fast oil comes back. And if you get a lot of chattering when it's lowering, I'll demonstrate that in a moment, but it's kind of basically the oil's coming in faster than it's going out. And so the spool that's in the middle there kind of hammers back and forth. Let's get that out of there. Now there's a seat on each side for those poppets. Will this punch make it through there? Probably not. Oh, yep, it will. Light tap. there was a ball in there. And there's the shuttle. Let's see if we can get the other seat out, because it's got an O-ring on it. Yep, just a little tap. There's that. So we've got to remember the one with the hole and the deeper thing, and the ball goes towards the back. And I will have to look at the diagram to see which side the ball goes on. Oh, it goes, I see. I remember now. There's this, and once again using stamping pliers as needle nose, but hey. All right. It goes on top of this, and it fell out because, you know, there was nothing to keep it in place anymore. And this also goes towards the back. There is a pin through I guess you call it a tube, a bushing. The pin keeps the ball from, I think the pin is catching on the threads. There it goes. Normally, this ball would be on the floor. Normally, this ball would be on top of this pin. That just keeps it from going out. So here's what's going on. Let's see, that's the back. How this thing works. We don't really need the seats, but you get the idea. So we have that, and we'll leave the spring off for now. So you move your lever, shifts the spool one way. I do believe this, I can't, let's see. Yeah, that should put pressure to the back one. So the pressure pushes the poppet out and pushes this shuttle over to push that poppet out so oil can return. You can go back to neutral. The springs push everything in the middle. These two poppets seat on the seats, and that way your implement doesn't settle. That's something with the float valve. There are no check valves or poppets in it, so they will eventually settle. So anyways, let's see, we'll go the other way. So now we're moving stuff around there. Pushes the poppet out here, pushes this shuttle over, pushes this poppet out. So now oil can return here. But if you got something really heavy like a loader, heavy piece of equipment, that oil rushing in can push the shuttle back over. And of course, there's a spring behind this poppet. It's just loads of fun, ain't it? So that pushes the excess oil coming in is higher pressure, higher flow than what's going out, and it pushes the shuttle back over. And so both poppets can, well, this one will stay open because the pressure is holding it back, but this one will close for just a moment. Well, then the outgoing pressure can push the shuttle back, open that up again, and you get some more downward flow until it's coming in so fast it pushes this back over. And that's where you're getting your chattering from, is this is just going back and forth. And so that's when you take this and screw it in some, and that restricts how much this can open and restricts the flow so that it can't come in faster than it's going out. The shuttle doesn't hop back and forth, and you don't get that chattering. Similar to what the 50 series, but much smaller. Let's see. So those are out, and that, and that, and that. So all we've got, and I do want to show on the other one, there are variations on these valves. This one has the thermal relief valve, and This one does not. I'm only going to tear one apart at a time so I don't get parts swapped between the two. So on this one, there are O-rings on these thermal relief valves that are not 9/16. That you just screw them out, replace the O-rings. But essentially, if trapped oil gets hot enough, they can pop open to keep other things from breaking. It's kind of a fuse. Yeah, I would call it more of a fuse and a circuit breaker, because I think they're only good for one use. They might not be, but think of it that way. Kind of a circuit breaker. This one does not have the thermal reliefs. Just plugs in there, sealing it up. So I don't really see that being an issue, especially on a restoration tractor. I'll still be using it some on the farm, but it's not going to be the main workhorse. And I guess worst comes to worst, we'll fix it. Let's put this back before we confuse things. And get the right size socket to spin them out. 1/2 inch socket. There's, I think this O-ring did that like the other one. That's just weird. I can't say I've ever had that before, but this O-ring should be back on top of the threads. That one's down there. Same thing over here. I imagine if you can get the hoses out of the way, you can probably fix these on the tractor. I can't say I've ever heard of one going. There, everything is out of the valve body. Now going back together, we'll have to make sure that, you know, everything's back together before we put this piece with the ball in there, so it doesn't just fall through. So I'll probably start from the top down. But first, I'm going to clean some stuff up. Let's clean it up, and I almost forgot about this thing. There it is. To remember, I think there might be an O-ring. Yes, there is. That's what seals that part of that body. There it is. And it goes against the end there. But yes, you want to get that out of there. Well, it's been a few days since I worked on this, between nice weather and doing outdoors things and going to a winter get-together for the Hartford Oliver Collectors Association. That was a real good show. It was down in Greenville, Illinois, so if you didn't make it, you missed out. We had some real nice weather there, so I was out in the field. Now it's cold again, the ground's froze up, so figured it's time to go back in the shop again. So we want a new O-ring for there, and I thought the book said that was something else, but I guess I did order some of the right O-rings. Got on the old interwebs and got some from the O-ring store. And let's see how that compares. Yeah, that looks like the right one. So now I got a bunch for future projects. So there were 5/8 ID, 7/8 OD, 1/8 inch cross section, in case you're wondering. This one looks like the shiny new one. I've left the O-rings on most of the pieces and parts so that as I go to put it back together, I can pull the old one off and compare it and know where it went. Because let's face it, I'm not getting any younger. The pencil ain't getting any sharper. And I should be wearing my glasses in the shop. Come on. There she goes. And it popped right in. Almost. Now it's popped in. A little grease in there to make sure everything slides past. Okay, I took a little emery cloth and just on the very outer edge here where it hits the O-ring as the spool comes through, did a little sanding. You don't want to get back on any of the other stuff because it's precision ground to match the body. Well, maybe the body's ground to match it, but either way, they're a match set, so you don't want to mess that up. But you also don't want to slice your O-ring on the way in and out, so just taking a little sharpness off that edge can make a big difference. A little Scotch-Brite, I don't think that's gonna hurt the rest of the surface. Feel for any burrs or scratches. All right, we're up to this baby, I think. No. Let's see. Boy, I might have to review. I've got my cheat sheet here, also known as I took a picture of the parts book, so I can make sure I got stuff in the right order. So, this little pointer doohickey with the point going in needs to go down in there, hopefully straight. Then the spring, and then that. Let me clean my screwdriver off. You want the screw part facing out. Now what I like to do, just for initial setting, is go all the way to the bottom, which is going to make her kick out all the time. Probably should have just counted the number of turns. But basically put it in the middle. You want it in fairly good because when you screw this piece in there, it's gonna, you don't want it bottoming out against that screw. It's not gonna, things are not gonna turn. So I'm gonna take her all the way down. And just come back out 2 turns, somewhere around there. And that should suffice. Now, when this goes in, we'll definitely want the flat bladed end. Let me make sure, turn my screen on. Going in, because it's got to engage that screwdriver-y part, and then when you stick your Allen wrench in, it's going into that part and turns it. But then this O-ring can seal it, so oil ain't coming out the back. So I need to dig this O-ring off and replace it. Like I said, I'm just using my O-ring kit. There is a seal kit available, and I'll post a number, but it's about $125 kit. And if you don't need the poppets, these babies here, I did find where I had some unused ones. It comes with the large one, which is the common one, and it also comes with a smaller one, which usually doesn't get used. So I had some around, so it's cheaper to just get O-rings in that case. Scotch-Brite this as well, make sure it's all polished up good. It got a little rust on it. Yeah, the inside needs cleaned out. We'll come back in a moment. I don't want to have to break it. How am I supposed to compare the size if it's broken? Okay, got it. After an obscene amount of stretching, I got it. Okay, got our new O-ring. And our other new O-ring, it's a tiny little feller. Get on there, tiny little feller. A little bit of grease there. release there. Then comes the fun part. Let's see, we could probably, we could put it in. It don't really matter because we can go in from that end. Should be able to do that later. So we got our washer. Make sure I'm getting all this. Our spring and the other washer. And then, like I said, the fun part. Pushing down on it and getting it all to thread in. Because as we know on this channel, springs are our enemy. All right, gotta take the jacket off. It's getting serious. Spring, other washer. The two washers have two different holes. You know, it should be obvious. The bigger hole has to go on here because this one won't fit over there. Spring, washer. Drop. Pick up. Got it. Yeah. Yeah, just looking down in there to make sure I got the right end sticking up on that adjuster screw. And we will, what will we do? We will put this in the vise. And which one did I have pointing out? This one? Doesn't matter. Some kind of punch or something that you can just, don't mess up those holes though. You don't want to mess up the holes. Tighten that baby down. I found my crest, or my Allen wrench, and if my feeble eyes can read it, yeah, I think it's 1/4 inch. But when I pulled it back out, it brought that little thing with it. So we're just gonna use it to get it back down in there and turn it until it engages the adjuster, and it's tight, which probably means I adjusted it back out too far. So we'll just hopefully loosen this up a little bit. Stick this down in there. Get it to where it engages. We're going to turn it till it bottoms out. There we go. Then we tighten this back up. Then we try it again. Get in there. You were just there. Doing a little blind man's bluff here. There it goes. Why is it staying tight? It's bottomed out. That should not be an issue. There it goes. Guess I just didn't know my own strength. And there. And now I've gotten out of the hole again. Yeah, so bottom it out, don't crank it down. Yeah, I had it out too far. So let's see, that's all the way out. It's half. Yeah, 1 turn of is all your adjustment. So we're gonna put her in the middle. Somewhere right in there. We'll can always adjust it later. It should be an oil-free adventure if all my seals held. Okay, now that we know that adjuster is down in there, seated in with a screw, turning like it should, we can put this baby in. The spring goes in the middle. And more fun with springs because we got to get this cap on, which has the hole in the middle for your adjuster to go through. And then hopefully I'm not getting in the way. Let's wipe these snap ring pliers off. Trying to put it all together under spring pressure while getting a good camera shot. I think I got it. Just give her the old... There, that helped it snap in. Little bumpy bump to make sure she pops into the groove good. And there. Now we'll double check our work one more time. Yep, I can still adjust the adjuster. That's engaged properly and now has spring pressure against it, so it's going to stay where it's supposed to. I think we're where we can slide her on in. So what I need to do is find a... Don't look bad, but boy, it's kind of stiff. Fresh new one, 330 seconds by 5/8 ID. Once again, some grease. It goes down in here. Okay, so O-ring greased up, goes down in there. We're just gonna put a little film of grease on this as a rust preventative, because everything out on this end will not be getting oiled. There. And it's seated down in. And now it's time for our spool to enter. Everything's dry. I know it should fit because it came out of there. Yeah, let's make sure no pieces of rubber came out with the grease, but it went through there pretty smooth. I think it's fine. So that's good. It can't go in any farther. Well, it could against the spring pressure in here for your detent. Now the really fun part. The balls. It's not going to hurt to have a film of grease. I don't want to pack the whole thing with grease because the heat will probably eventually melt the grease and then it'll seep out of there, and we don't want that kind of ugliness going on. But like I say, a nice film to keep anything from rusting is going to be a good thing. But in these 3 pockets, grease in there to hold the balls in place is a good thing. Oops, we don't want to push that out. I cleaned this up, especially on the inside. Some balls I got to get over a ramp. And that's where it gets interesting. Guess that wasn't so bad. There. Well, do that instead. All right, we want to get the shuttle back in. Got that in the middle. Let's see, this is the front side, so that's the front seat. And of course it's going to dance around on me. That pops in fairly easy. And then the rear seat. And before I get that all the way in there, there's a hole that needs to be facing downwards towards the valve. That's the way I've always found them. There, that's in. That weren't too bad. Then we have our poppet. Let's see, that's the back side. I need to get, there'll be a spring. I need to put the new seal and backup washer on this. And then we need this cap, but we need to put new seals on it. And I ordered new backup washers. You know, should have the O-rings. There's the washer and the backup washer. And then we just need to screw this baby out because there is a seal on that. I do believe I have to take the jam nut all the way off and then thread it back through the other way. Now that I think about it. And then you drop it on the floor. And there's two different sizes of this. And all it does is the poppet fits in there. And so the farther you take it, squish it in, the less the poppet can come off its seat and let oil through, and then essentially slows it down. So we've got to pick the O-rings that are back in there out. But yeah, so there are a couple of later ones were a smaller diameter, and I think the O-rings might have moved on to that. They probably use the smaller poppets. All the O-ring sizes are in the parts book, and you can look them up on agcopartsbooks.com. So if you want to, you know, come up with your own O-rings and want to make sure you have the right sizes, you can go about it that way. It's again a little grease to help everything slide together. Let's see, that's the front plug. We can't put the back one in until I get those. Well, I probably will put it in just to keep everything from falling out until I get the right O-rings. The poppet and the spring in there, or it won't work right. Anybody getting dizzy from watching that? The cup side is that side. So like I said, I'm going to go ahead and get it on here. If you're just doing one valve, it might be just as far ahead to buy the kit. You know, you got all the right pieces. I got enough tractors with all these that I felt it was worth getting a bunch of them, and it'll be cheaper in the long run if I buy in quantity. Let's get that O-ring. We'll even flip that around. That slid in good without tearing up any O-ring. All right. And you know what I did? Well, I didn't put the, it doesn't really matter because I got to take it back apart. Yeah, I didn't put the poppet and the spring in. That's just crazy. See, I'll put it in there just to keep track of my parts until the other O-rings come. Okay, let's get the thermal reliefs resealed. They don't move at all. Chances are they weren't going to leak. But for the cost of a couple O-rings, I'm going to make sure they don't leak. Or make them leak. I guess it depends on how bad I am at it. Yeah, I broke that one. It definitely needs replaced now. Okay, so I need 2 of each of these because there's 2 thermal reliefs and they're the same. There's one. We'll pick these others off and have 2. Well, it should be a good, yummy night tonight. My good friend Brian, I bought a quarter of a beef off from him, and he dropped it off today. And so we're having T-bones tonight. Once again, some grease. So now we have this doohickey here. The ball goes in first, and it'll catch in that little hole. And from the drawing, the little roll pin goes towards the top. So you want to watch out for that. If you're ever tearing these apart on the tractor, it's just a slip fit, so it can fall out and you might not even notice it. I imagine it'll work without it. Honestly, I'm not sure what purpose it serves. What purpose it serves. Some of you guys that are a little more in detail with or in tune with these valves know the exact purpose of that ball, but like I say, I think it has something to do with the restrictor, because we don't have one on the other side and it doesn't show up in the parts book. Now, originally, the remote, or the hoses going to the remotes, had these style of fittings, a 90-degree swivel with an O-ring boss, and as you can see, they are a pain in the butt. Well, they're not too bad to get in, but the next hose, you know, this is under your tractor. You put one in here, and so you got to have them sideways, and it just gets really tight. So while I do like to keep stuff original, I also like to keep my sanity. So let's see, and this is what they did on the white tractors later on, even though a lot of them use the same valves. Let's see, that's the back hole. So on the front, I'm going to put a 45, and I'm adapting from O-ring boss to a 1/2-inch JIC fitting. And then in the rear one, I'm going to put a 90-degree. And the nice thing about the O-ring boss is you can aim these, then tighten the nuts down, and they'll stay where they're at. And the JICs, this one will come just below this one will come straight back. This is what it'll look like on the tractor. So, because if I had this one at a 90 as well, it's just going to come up and hit this one. Then the hoses can all be pretty much the same and not hit anything. So let me get a wrench to tighten them down. That looks pretty good. So all we've got is this, and through the magic of editing, it'll happen instantly. Well, I should have recorded taking this one apart. It's got the smaller poppets in it. There's the one good survivor. This is a brand new one. And there's the other. He busted up pretty good. So I think this has got a few scuffs, this shuttle, got a few scuffs on it, and I don't know, the bore might, this spool wants to hang up. I'm not feeling anything wrong with the spool, but, or any rough spots anyways. And I'm almost thinking maybe one of those pieces of the poppet went through there and scuffed things up a bit. But I guess I'll keep tearing it down, and hopefully I can get that spool to move smoothly, because it's kind of stiff in spots. I may have to get another valve. This one's got banged up from that broken poppet, so it doesn't want to slide through the best. Could clean it up some. And then I found where, right in there, there's a ding. There's some stuff there that, but if it damaged up the bore in there any, I'm not really sure how how a guy could really fix that without changing the tolerances and just messing things up and causing a lot of grief over something that you can just get another one of, even though it's used. So I might do a little sand in here and see if I can't get this to where it slides through, and same with that. Clean these up, and if I can't, I probably will be finding another valve. Now, after sanding a little bit where that nick was, getting in there and spinning it where it seemed like it was a little tight. Oh, she seems good now. Well, that's a relief. Hate to spend money on something. I mean, it's used part, you know, sometimes you're gonna get duds, but I think it was enough money. It's been a year or so since I bought it, so. And there we have it, 3 rebuilt valves. We'll do another video on actually putting them on the tractor, separate that out, and probably combine it with the video of taking them off. Who knows how long ago. But as always, I appreciate everybody watching, and we will see you in the next one.